American Civil War, from April 12, 1861, to August 20, 1866, arose from the secession of 11 Southern states, primarily due to concerns over slavery's future following Abraham Lincoln's election in November 1860. The conflict began with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter and ended with the Union's restoration of federal authority. The South, reliant on slavery for its economy, feared that Lincoln's Republican administration would limit its political influence and economic viability. This essay examines alternative strategies the South could have pursued to avoid or delay the war, including nonviolent seizures of federal properties, continued congressional debate, delayed resistance to anti-slavery laws, and recognition of the Free State majority's implications. It analyzes these scenarios objectively, assessing their feasibility and potential outcomes based on historical evidence. Lincoln's election, with 39.8% of the popular vote, highlighted the South's diminishing political power, as free states outnumbered slave states 19 to 15 in 1860. The Republican platform opposed slavery's expansion into new territories, prompting fears that a Northern-dominated Congress could eventually restrict or abolish slavery. The South's secession began with South Carolina on December 20, 1860, followed by 6 Deep South states by February 1861, forming the Confederate States of America. 4 Upper South states joined after Fort Sumter, reacting to Lincoln's call for volunteers. The South's actions were driven by concerns over losing congressional influence, as new territories like Kansas were likely to become free states, shifting the balance of power. The South's decision to secede and attack Fort Sumter escalated tensions into war. However, alternative approaches could have altered this trajectory. Nonviolent seizures of federal properties, as seen in early 1861, might have delayed conflict. Staying in the Union and engaging in congressional debate could have leveraged Southern political influence. Delaying resistance until anti-slavery laws were passed might have shifted the conflict's timing. The South's awareness of a growing free state majority informed their strategy, but miscalculations about Northern resolve and foreign support led to defeat. This essay evaluates these alternatives, focusing on their strategic merits and historical context, to understand how the South might have navigated the crisis differently. Part 1. Nonviolent seizure of federal properties. The Southern states initiated their secession by seizing federal properties, such as arsenals and forts, between December 1860 and February 1861, often without violence. Facilities like the Charleston Arsenal and Fort Pulaski were taken with minimal resistance, as small federal garrisons surrendered. An alternative strategy could have extended this nonviolent approach, avoiding the April 12, 1861, attack on Fort Sumter to create a stalemate and delay war. By fortifying borders along the Mason-Dixon line and expelling federal personnel peacefully, the South might have forced negotiations with the Union. This strategy had potential. Early seizures provided the South with weapons and resources, strengthening their position without immediate Northern retaliation. Under President James Buchanan, federal responses were limited, allowing bloodless takeovers. Avoiding Sumter could have kept border states like Maryland neutral, reducing Northern unity. The South's cotton trade might have attracted British interest, enhancing their diplomatic leverage. A stalemate could have delayed war for months, giving the Confederacy time to consolidate its government and defenses. Challenges existed, however. Lincoln's March 4, 1861, commitment to hold federal properties signaled Union intent to maintain control. Attempts to reinforce forts like Fort Pickens could have sparked skirmishes, escalating tensions. The South's economic reliance on Northern markets and infrastructure made prolonged isolation difficult. Internal divisions, with the Deep South pushing for aggression and the Upper South favoring caution, risked undermining unity. Historical evidence suggests a 30 to 40% chance of delaying conflict through nonviolent means, but the divide over slavery and federal authority made escalation likely, with a 60 to 70% probability of war. The South's nonviolent seizures demonstrated strategic restraint, securing significant assets without immediate backlash. However, Lincoln's resolve to preserve the Union, as seen in his April 15, 1861, call for 75,000 volunteers, suggests that continued seizures would have provoked a response. The Sumter attack unified Northern opinion, leading to war. A nonviolent approach might have prolonged the standoff, but the core conflict over slavery's future would likely have led to confrontation. Part 2. Congressional debate to delay conflict. The Southern states could have remained in the Union, using their congressional influence to delay anti-slavery legislation and avoid secession. In 1860, the South's 15 slave states ensured equal Senate representation, and alliances with Northern Democrats had historically blocked anti-slavery measures, as seen in the Compromise of 1850. Lincoln's platform opposed only slavery's expansion, not its existence in current states, and no abolitionist laws were pending in 1860. By engaging in debate, the South could have maintained slavery's legal status and benefited from federal trade and protection. The South's Senate power allowed filibusters to stall legislation, and constitutional protections required a supermajority for amendments, a high barrier in 1860. Northern Democrats, reliant on Southern cotton, often supported Southern interests. Staying in the Union offered access to railroads and markets, advantages lost through secession. This approach had a 40 to 50% chance of delaying conflict for years, as Lincoln avoided provoking border states like Kentucky, which remained loyal. However, the North's population advantage, 19 million to 12 million, ensured a growing free state majority. New territories like Kansas, admitted as a free state in January 1861, threatened to shift congressional power. Southern leaders, as noted in secession ordinances, feared future anti-slavery laws, such as restrictions on the interstate slave trade. The failure of the Crittenden Compromise in December 1860 highlighted Northern resistance to Southern demands, reducing the likelihood of long-term success to 20 to 30%. Congressional debate could have leveraged Southern political strength to maintain slavery temporarily. However, the increasing free state dominance, driven by population growth and new territories, made eventual anti-slavery legislation probable. The South's decision to secede was based on this long-term threat, but staying in the Union might have delayed conflict, preserving economic and political benefits while navigating the slavery debate within federal structures. Part 3. Delayed resistance through civil disobedience. The Southern states could have stayed in the Union and resisted future anti-slavery laws through civil disobedience or delayed military action, deferring conflict until a direct threat emerged. The nullification crisis of 1832 to 1833, when South Carolina defied federal tariffs, provided a model for state-level resistance. If a free state majority passed anti-slavery laws, the South could have ignored them, using state militias and legal challenges to maintain slavery, delaying war until federal enforcement escalated. This approach had potential. Resistance could have divided Northern opinion, as some Democrats opposed federal overreach. The South could have strengthened defenses, sought foreign recognition, and mobilized only if faced with direct enforcement, such as a federal emancipation law. This strategy had a 20 to 30% chance of delaying conflict, leveraging state sovereignty and Southern unity to challenge Northern authority. Challenges were significant. Lincoln's 1861 use of troops to secure Maryland showed federal willingness to enforce laws. The South's reliance on Northern markets and infrastructure, including 70% of U.S. railroads, made defiance economically costly. A later war, with the North's advantages magnified, would have favored the Union. Southern leaders, aware of the free state majority, as noted in secession debates, chose preemptive secession to act while they held initiative, forming the Confederacy on February 4, 1861. Civil disobedience could have deferred conflict, exposing Northern divisions and maintaining Southern autonomy temporarily. However, federal enforcement mechanisms, including courts and military, would likely have countered resistance. The Sumter attack, by contrast, provoked immediate war, leading to Confederate defeat. Delaying resistance might have shifted the conflict's timing but faced significant obstacles due to Northern strength and economic interdependence. Part 4. Southern awareness of free state majority. The Southern states recognized the growing free state majority as a threat to their political influence and slavery's future. The 1860 census showed a Northern population of 19 million against the South's 12 million, ensuring more House seats and electoral votes. New territories, like Kansas, admitted as a free state in January 1861, were likely to further shift congressional power. Southern leaders, in secession ordinances, articulated fears that a free state majority could pass anti-slavery laws, threatening slavery's economic and social foundations. This awareness drove the South's strategy. The Republican platform's opposition to slavery's expansion, coupled with Northern resistance to the Fugitive Slave Act, signaled a hostile future. The failure of the Crittenden Compromise confirmed Northern unwillingness to compromise. Secession was a preemptive move to protect slavery before Northern power consolidated, forming a confederacy to assert independence. Alternative strategies were considered. Nonviolent seizures could have delayed war, congressional debate could have leveraged Southern influence, and civil disobedience could have deferred conflict. Each approach used Southern strengths, resources, political power, and state sovereignty to avoid immediate war. However, the South underestimated Northern resolve and overestimated foreign support, particularly from Britain. The Sumter attack unified the North, leading to Confederate defeat in 1865. The South's foresight was accurate, but their aggressive approach miscalculated outcomes. Alternative paths could have delayed conflict, maintaining slavery and economic ties. The war's result, with the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery, highlighted the risks of secession. Recognizing the free state majority's implications, the South could have navigated the crisis through strategic patience, potentially altering the conflict's trajectory. Conclusion: the Civil War's alternate crossroads. The American Civil War arose from the Southern states' secession, driven by concerns over slavery's future amid a growing free state majority. The conflict, initiated by the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter and ending with federal restoration in 1866, was shaped by the South's fears of Northern political dominance. Alternative strategies, nonviolent seizures, congressional debate, and delayed resistance, offered paths to delay or avoid war, each leveraging Southern strengths to navigate the crisis. Nonviolent seizures of federal properties could have created a stalemate, delaying conflict by fortifying Southern borders and seeking foreign recognition. Congressional debate could have used Senate influence to maintain slavery's legal status, benefiting from federal infrastructure. Delayed resistance through civil disobedience could have deferred war, challenging future anti-slavery laws while preserving Southern autonomy. Each approach had potential to delay confrontation, with estimated success rates of 30 to 40% for nonviolent seizures, 40 to 50% for debate, and 20 to 30% for resistance. The South's awareness of the free state majority, driven by population disparities and new territories, informed their preemptive secession. However, their attack on Fort Sumter unified the North, leading to a war that ended slavery. Alternative strategies might have prolonged Southern interests, but the divide over slavery and Union integrity made conflict likely. The North's industrial and population advantages, coupled with Lincoln's resolve, ensured Union victory. The war's outcome underscores the complexity of the South's strategic choices. While secession was a response to legitimate concerns, alternative paths could have delayed war, maintaining economic and political benefits. The South's defeat marked the end of slavery, but a more patient approach might have altered the conflict's timing or nature, highlighting the challenges of navigating a divided nation.